Welcome back to this video series, Uncover the Purpose of Your Path. I just did a Facebook Live on fear, being fearless, with my book launch manager. We were talking about fear in the book writing process, so I thought I would go ahead and make a short video all about fear this week, because fear is something that people talk a lot about. I have actually had people call me fearless throughout my life, and I don't resonate with that at all. Actually, fear-filled is the term that I would say best fits me, because I am constantly pushing my edges, constantly going through growth and healing, constantly trying to make big, exciting, impossible things happen, and that means that fear is always present. I think there are a lot of times that we wish fear didn't exist, that we could set it aside, and we could be more courageous and more fearless like we think other people are. But the truth is that most people that are doing big, hard, scary things, they are experiencing fear. The more that you do it and the more that you understand fear and how it works and how to move through it and move forward with it, the less intense it is when it comes up. And the more that you work through and push your edges with certain fears in particular, and do the subconscious work to clear out any past traumas, limiting beliefs, and other subconscious pieces that keep the fear prominent and loud, when those fears show up, they start to be more like a faint voice in the background. They don't have as much weight, they don't influence or deter you as easily, and they certainly don't become an obstacle to you creating what it is that you want. When it comes to fear, what I like to talk about is the terror barrier. That is something a mentor taught me that I know they learned from their mentors. And essentially what happens is when we step out of the known and familiar, when we go after something that we want, when we push an edge, when we're doing healing and growth work, when we're trying to make a big, scary, impossible goal happen, we are going against what our subconscious believes keeps us safe. So our subconscious wants us to stay in the known and familiar for as long as possible, because it knows that we can survive whatever that known and familiar is. So anytime that we step outside of that, our subconscious throws a fit. It will do anything and everything that it can to get us to stop and go backwards to the known and familiar, to the thing it knows it can survive. Even if that thing that is known and familiar is painful or even traumatic in and of itself. So that is why it is so hard for us to make changes, even when we really deeply, even desperately want them. Our subconscious knows that we can survive what we're in right now, so it would prefer that we stay there. When we take those steps forward, what happens is we go from the normal ups and downs of everyday life to chaos. It seems like everything is hitting the fan, everything is going wrong. We start to believe that maybe the universe is giving us signs that we shouldn't do this, that we're not capable, that we're not cut out. All of our self-sabotaging behavior comes up, and it just feels like life has gone haywire. And so we revert. We go back to the known and familiar because this terror barrier, this extreme high and low, this chaos is too much for us, and we don't think that we can move through it. And we start to interpret it and tell stories about it. So again, that can look like, I'm getting signs from the universe that this isn't for me, or I knew I wasn't good enough. I know I'm not cut out for it. I'm damaged, broken, whatever it is, whatever story that we tell ourselves, which is often very much linked to our core wounding and any past traumas that we've had, we believe those, and we go back to operating within what we believe is possible for us, so that known and familiar. We try to make incremental improvements there versus really going for what we want. So when we can really understand that, the second that I go for more, that I go and put myself out there in a really vulnerable and uncomfortable way, if I am trying to make big changes in my life or my work or my relationships, anything that steps me outside of the known and familiar, and it can be literally anything, big or small, when we first start doing this work and pushing our edges, but especially the big scary things that we might consciously be ready for, but subconsciously we are very comfortable where we are going to hit the terror barrier. Things are going to feel harder. All of our subconscious stuff is going to come up. We are more likely to self-sabotage. Like, if something can go wrong, it probably will go wrong. And that doesn't mean that we cause things to go wrong. Our subconscious doesn't cause the car to break down and the computer to stop working and the unexpected bill to arrive in the mail. It simply hyper-focuses on those things and makes them much bigger issues than they really are, because that'll stress us out, that'll make us feel overwhelmed, we'll feel like the universe is sending us signs, and we'll go back to the known and familiar. here. Sometimes we can cause things to happen in the sense that our subconscious might cause us to overbook things and work ourselves into the bone and get stressed about all these things, and then suddenly we're sick again. And so some things our subconscious directs us to act in certain ways that create certain outcomes that then we can fixate on and revert because we feel overwhelmed and like it's too much. We're not capable of creating change. But all that really matters is that when we hit the terror barrier, when everything seems to hit the fan, nothing is wrong. This is what is supposed to happen. That doesn't mean that every time we go for something more for the rest of our lives that we will hit this level of intensity. This is most common when we first start going for more and is pretty typical when we start going for really big things, like really trying to quantum leap or reach impossible levels of change and transformation in ourselves and in our lives. But when we can anticipate that I'm going to go for this, and as soon as I start, my subconscious is going to freak out and it's going to try to find ways to get me to stop. And when we can understand all the ways that we most commonly stop, we can see them for what they are, and we can understand that nothing is wrong. This is just what happens when our subconscious gets triggered because it's scary. It doesn't know that we can survive the changes we're trying to make. Then we don't buy into the stories. We just see it as the natural fear response that our subconscious throws up in the face of change. Once we can do that, then we're able to slowly move ourselves forward despite all of the chaos and terror that is coming up or seems to be happening around us. This is a place that we often need help. I have understood this concept for several years. I have been working to push my edges for several years. I have been learning about the subconscious. I understand this, and that means that there are a lot of times I can catch it and course correct and navigate my way through it. Even in understanding it, being able to see it, and being able to navigate it, I often need help to keep moving through it because our deepest stuff will come up if that's what our subconscious thinks it can use to get us to stop. So in order to clear those things, I often need the support of coaches and mentors. There are times, even knowing this, even doing this work and helping others through it, that I don't see it. Our subconscious is so sneaky. If you're really struggling with the fear that comes up when you go for more or you make big changes and you can't seem to get your bearings and make sense of things and stop the stories or the spin, if you keep self-sabotaging, if you keep reverting, that is when you need support. We need someone outside of us to help us see what's happening, help us clear the things that are coming up so that they're not a block anymore, and help us keep taking steps forward by reminding us that nothing is wrong. This is just what happens. Here's what we can do to work with these elements of the subconscious that are coming up, and here's how we can stay in motion around what we want. It's normal. Nothing is wrong. It doesn't mean anything about you other than you have a subconscious mind just like every other human. And get support. Let someone help you. This is work that I do with my clients all the time, and I love doing it, and I really understand it. And I take the time to really understand your unique personality type, your core wounds, your traumas, your belief system, everything in there that's going to come into play so that I can help you navigate through it in the way that's best for you. So if you want support, head on over to my website, stephaniezamora.com. There's also a link below to book a time to chat. And just remember, nobody doing big, exciting, impossible things is doing it fearlessly. They are feeling fear. They are doing what they need to do despite the fear. They have learned how to work with the fear, how their fear shows up, what's normal about the process, and how to not hook into the interpretations and stories. So those skills are available to you as well, and I would be honored to support you. All right, I will catch you in the next video.